"Christopher, you're a disgrace to this family. Leave, you're not wanted here." Those cutting words pierced through the air, spat by my own father amidst the celebration of my brother Alex's wedding. The humiliation stung deeper as Alex remained silent, a silent accomplice to my expulsion. Anger boiled within me, ready to storm out when a plea for help interrupted my departure. A staff member, desperate in a moment of crisis, sought my aid. In that unexpected turn, my father saw me for who I truly was, and it jolted him. My name is Christopher, one of two brothers in our family. Growing up, our father, a stern lawyer, favored Alex, leaving me to perpetually chase his shadow. No moment of leisure existed in our lives. Every second was dedicated to lessons and studying. Even the simple joy of playing with friends was a luxury denied. Despite my relentless efforts to meet my father's lofty standards and match Alex's achievements, I perpetually felt inadequate, a constant disappointment to my father. The pivotal moment arrived with the entrance exam for a prestigious school, a futile attempt to win my father's approval. When I inevitably failed, my father's silence towards me solidified, his attention solely on Alex and my mother. Left to navigate the shadows of neglect, I found solace in my mother's unwavering support, but the ache persisted, exacerbated by Alex's indifference. Determined to forge my own path, I departed silently after high school, leaving only a note for my mother. Striking out on my own, I secured a job at a hotel where I could both work and live. It was there, amidst the bustling corridors and transient guests, that I found the freedom and fulfillment that eluded me at home. I get to focus on what I need to do, Christopher. Another mistake? How many times do I have to tell you? I'm sorry, I'll fix it right away. Get it together, Christopher. Michael, the hotel manager, was relentless in his expectations. As a mere high school graduate thrust into the real world, I constantly found myself on the receiving end of his reprimands. Yet, amidst the criticism, I persisted, striving to prove myself in this unfamiliar terrain. Unlike my father's harshness, Michael's feedback was constructive. His praise, when earned, fueled my determination to excel. A significant moment etched itself into my memory at the dawn of the new year, the busiest time for the hotel. After completing the requisite training, I was entrusted to work independently. That year, the influx of guests seemed greater than ever, stretching our resources to their limits. The chaos of serving dinner guests, either in the bustling dining hall or through room service, reached fever pitch. Despite being a novice, I tackled my duties with fervor, aware that my learning curve came at the expense of the hotel's smooth operation. Then, a minor crisis struck on New Year's Day. A colleague fell ill, leaving us short-staffed. I doubled down on my efforts, pushing myself beyond the mandated hours to keep the hotel afloat. Just when it seemed we had weathered the storm, disaster struck. The kitchen sink's pipe burst amidst the dinner rush, plunging us into chaos. With no plumber available on New Year's Day, the situation grew dire. Michael's frustration mirrored the mounting tension. In a moment of desperation, I stepped forward. "Michael, can I try fixing the plumbing? I'll sort it out." Though met with skepticism, my offer was our only hope. With a hesitant nod, Michael relented, allowing me to take charge. Unbeknownst to many, my time at a science-focused high school had equipped me with a unique set of skills, including rudimentary plumbing knowledge. Drawing on this background, I set to work. Half an hour later, the once flooded kitchen was restored to order, the crisis averted through a combination of determination and unexpected expertise. I had somehow managed to fix the pipe, I announced breathlessly to Michael. He rushed over, turning the faucet with eager anticipation. Water gushed forth, a testament to my makeshift repair. The room erupted in smiles and praise. "Great job, Christopher. You're my pride and joy," Michael declared, his words washing over me with warmth. Growing up under Michael's guidance had been a revelation. Together, we navigated the challenges of New Year's Day at the hotel, emerging victorious. The sense of fulfillment I experienced that day left an indelible mark, shaping the person I am today. 15 years flew by, and I found myself fully immersed in my role at the hotel. Then, one day, a letter arrived from Mom, breaking the silence that had settled between us. It bore news of Alex's impending marriage. Though I had drifted apart from Dad and Alex, Mom's plea for my presence at the wedding tugged at my heartstrings. Reluctantly, I agreed to attend. The venue, a luxurious hotel, mirrored Alex and Dad's penchant for extravagance. As I arrived, clad in a trusty suit, I couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place amidst the elite gathering. Perhaps Alex's bride, a woman of impeccable grace, was a product of Dad's networking or a strategic alliance. In the waiting room, surrounded by faces of high society, I found myself an outsider, observing from the periphery. With no one to engage, I became a silent observer, watching the intricate dance of privilege and power unfold before me. As I locked eyes with two familiar faces, a sense of unease settled within me. His expression was unmistakably displeased. Dad and Alex approached, their presence looming over me. "Why are you here?" Dad's voice, deep and commanding, echoed through the air, stirring memories long buried. "Is it so wrong to celebrate Alex's wedding?" "Oh, by the way, congrats, Alex," I replied, trying to diffuse the tension. Alex's response was muted, his conflicted expression betraying the strain of our family dynamics. "What have you been up to all these years?" "No doubt some worthless job," and his words cut through the air like a knife, his disdain palpable. "Christopher, you shouldn't be here," he continued, his tone dripping with contempt. Mom rushed over, attempting to intercede. "Come on, Christopher is here to celebrate. No need to be so harsh," she pleaded, her desperation evident. But her efforts were futile, drowned out by Dad's unwavering judgment. "Enough, Mom," Dad asserted, his voice a thunderous decree. "Christopher, let me make this clear. You're a disgrace. I don't want you ruining Alex's celebration. Get out." Anger surged within me, fueled by years of neglect and rejection. I hadn't wanted to come to Alex's wedding, and yet I found myself subjected to this humiliation. "Fine, I'm leaving," I declared, my resolve firm. As I turned to exit the waiting room, a voice called out, halting my retreat. A wedding staff member approached, urgency etched on their face. "What's up?" I inquired, curiosity mingling with frustration. "It seems we have an unexpected guest for today's wedding. We're short on seats and food," they explained hurriedly, their concern evident. Everyone in the waiting room looks worried. Emily, the planner, and the parents-in-law staff, their faces etched with concern, awaited a solution. Caught between indignation and duty, I hesitated, uncertain of my next move. "I see. Is that what's going on? Emily can't handle it alone, and they're asking for my help. But what does this have to do with me?" I pondered, a torrent of grievances against Dad and Alex swirling within me. Yet amidst the resentment, memories from the past surfaced, softening my resolve. Recollections of Alex's kindness flooded my mind, the times he made space for play during our study breaks. If I walked away now, I'd be no better than Dad. With a determined sigh, I turned back to the wedding staff. "Can you take me to Emily?" I requested, a flicker of resolve in my voice. The staff member's face softened, and I followed them back into the waiting room, reclaiming the ground from which I had been expelled moments before. In the center of the room, Emily, Dad, and the bride's father wore expressions of concern. As I approached, Dad's eyes locked with mine, his demeanor bristling with hostility. "Why has Christopher returned?" he demanded, his tone sharp. Before he could escalate the confrontation, Emily intervened. "General Manager, please help us," she implored, her urgency palpable. Dad's shock was evident as I calmly revealed my position as the general manager of the hotel chain. Since joining the company during its nascent stages, we had expanded to hotels and wedding venues nationwide. The very hotel we stood in was under my oversight. "I think I can handle this," I assured them, dismissing Dad's protests with a wave of my hand. "Dad, I'm busy right now. We'll talk later." With a sense of purpose, I turned to Emily. "Relax, Emily. Get the seats and everything else ready. I'll take care of the food," I directed, watching as the tension ebbed from her features. "Understood. I'll leave the food to the general manager and handle the rest," she affirmed before rushing off to execute the plan. With all eyes on me, I exited the room and sought out my friend, Chef Jackson. "Hey, you in?" I called out as he emerged from the kitchen. "Christopher, what brings you here?" he inquired, his curiosity piqued. "I'm here as a guest today. My brother's wedding is happening here, but we're one meal short. Can you help?" I asked Chef Jackson, hoping for a quick fix. "Sure thing. I'll whip something up with my culinary skills," he replied confidently. "Much appreciated. I owe you dinner. Looking forward to it," I replied gratefully. After handling a few loose ends, I returned to the waiting room. The guests had already moved to the ceremony area, leaving only my parents and the bride's parents behind. As I announced the issue was resolved, relief washed over the room. "We've got an extra meal coming," I explained, seeing the tension ease from my mom's and the bride's parents' faces. My dad, however, remained conflicted, his pride evident. "Christopher, thank you so much. Because of you, the celebration can go on successfully," my dad acknowledged, his gratitude genuine. "It's all in a day's work as a general manager," I replied with a smile, leading the way into the ceremony hall. As the lights dimmed and the groom and bride made their entrance, I couldn't help but marvel at their radiant presence. The ceremony proceeded smoothly, and as mealtime arrived, I ensured everyone was served before finally exhaling a sigh of relief. With the ceremony concluded, I engaged in a heartfelt conversation with both families, sharing their gratitude towards me, especially from the bride's family, who thanked me profusely. "These moments are why I love my job," I admitted sincerely as their expressions of gratitude warmed my heart. "Christopher, thank you so much. We had the best day ever, all thanks to you," they expressed with genuine appreciation. "No worries. Wishing you all the happiness in the world. Thank you so much," I replied warmly before turning to face my dad and Alex. "Christopher, you did wonderfully. Thank you," my mom praised, her words filled with pride. Dad and Alex wanted to speak with me. As Alex apologized first, expressing gratitude for my assistance, I couldn't help but smile. "As long as I could help, Alex, it's all good," I reassured him before turning to Dad, who remained silent. With a sense of closure, I accepted their gratitude, knowing that despite our differences, we could find common ground. Just then, my cell phone buzzed, signaling more work awaiting me at the hotel in the next town over. Looks like more work, but hey, I enjoy it, so no complaints. "All right, I'm off. Got work to do. You two take care," I bid farewell, ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead. It was a realization settling in. I probably wouldn't see Alex or Dad again. With that thought lingering, I left the room without a backward glance, my steps leading me back to work. 3 days post Alex's wedding, I relished a rare day off, reclining on the sofa with a steaming cup of coffee, my moment of bliss abruptly interrupted by the doorbell's chime. Curious as to the visitor's identity, I made my way to the door, only to be met with Alex's unexpected presence. "Alex, what brings you here?" I inquired, surprised by his appearance. "Sorry, I got your address from Mom. Wanted to talk to you, Christopher," Alex explained, his tone tentative. I welcomed him in, brushing off any concerns about the tidiness of my home. As I poured him a cup of coffee, Alex expressed gratitude, taking a slow sip. "Thank you. Smells good," he remarked, attempting a smile. As we settled into conversation, Alex's demeanor shifted, his gaze unwavering as he broached the topic at hand. The next moment he apologized, I recalled, puzzled by his sudden change in tone. "I'm really sorry for everything," he admitted, catching me off guard. Initially taken aback by his unexpected apology, I struggled to comprehend his motive for making the trip in person. "Hey, it's all right, Alex," I reassured him, attempting to alleviate any tension. But Alex wasn't done yet. With a sense of vulnerability, he began to share his innermost thoughts and feelings. "You might think I'm the older brother who can do anything, but I envy you, Christopher," he confessed, his words striking a chord. Silence enveloped the room as Alex's confession hung in the air, leaving me at a loss for words. His admission took me by surprise, shattering preconceived notions and revealing a side of him I had never seen. "I had no idea you felt that way, Alex," I admitted, a twinge of guilt gnawing at me as I processed his revelation. "That's just it. It's not your fault, Christopher," Alex reassured me, his weak smile betraying a depth of emotion. In that moment, a sense of understanding washed over me, bridging the gap between us. "Alex, I'm sorry. I never considered that you were struggling too," I confessed, my own remorse surfacing. My brother's smile, though faint, spoke volumes. "That's just it. It's not your fault, Christopher," he reassured me, his words echoing in the quiet room. With a newfound sense of empathy and connection, we found the words to express what had long been left unsaid, strengthening the bond between us. "I think you've been through struggles I can't even imagine. I truly admire that. But I also want you to know about me," I confessed to Alex, feeling the weight of my words as they hung in the air. Taking a deep breath, I paused, gathering my thoughts before continuing. Alex listened intently, his silence encouraging me to share more. Breaking away from our parents and becoming independent wasn't easy either. The beginning was really tough, I admitted, recognizing the parallel struggles we both faced. It's true, we both have our share of hardships, Alex acknowledged, his response genuine. It was clear that he had more to say, but I found myself at a loss for words, unsure of how to offer guidance or reassurance. Unable to conjure up wise counsel, I spoke from the heart. To be honest, I think you should do what you really want to do, Alex, without worrying about Dad, I suggested, hoping to offer him some semblance of clarity amidst his inner turmoil. As Alex absorbed my words, a sense of relief washed over him. You're right, Christopher. You've helped clear up my inner turmoil. Thank you, he expressed, gratitude evident in his tone. No, thank you, Alex, for coming over, I replied sincerely, accompanying him to the door as he departed with a promise to return for coffee. A month later, a letter arrived from Alex, detailing his decision to leave behind his career as a lawyer in pursuit of his passion for glass craftsmanship. Despite facing disapproval from Dad, Alex found solace in the support of his wife and newfound motivation in his chosen path. As I reflected on Alex's journey and our evolving family dynamics, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in the bond between siblings. Lost in thought, the sound of my mobile phone's alarm jolted me back to reality, signaling the start of another day on the path I had chosen, in the job I had embraced. The sound of power tools at 7 in the morning should have been my first warning. But when you're 63, paralyzed from the waist down, and dependent on others for basic needs, you learn to ignore a lot of things just to keep the peace. I wheeled myself to the front window of what used to be my house, now my son's house, as my daughter-in-law Brittany reminded me gaily, and watched in growing horror as two men in work uniforms began dismantling my wheelchair ramp. You don't need it anymore, Brittany called out to them, gesturing with her manicured nails as she supervised the destruction of my only means of independent access to the outside world. Just get it down quickly. The new buyers are picking it up at noon. New buyers, she'd sold my ramp. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking as I tried to call my son Derek. Straight to voicemail. He was on another business trip, his third this month, leaving me alone with Brittany, who'd made it increasingly clear that my presence in what had been my home for 35 years was an inconvenience she could barely tolerate. Brittany, I called through the window, rapping on the glass. She looked up, saw me, and actually smiled. Not a kind smile. The smile of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. She walked closer to the window, not bothering to come inside. Oh, good you're awake, Dorothy. I scheduled Sunny Acres to pick you up tomorrow. It's a lovely facility. Very accommodating for people in your condition. My condition. I said through the glass, my voice muffled but my anger clear. You mean paralyzed? From the car accident that killed my husband? That condition? She shrugged. Derek agrees it's time. You'll be happier there. Derek doesn't even know you're doing this. He will when he gets back. By then, you'll already be settled. He'll see it's for the best. I watched, trapped in my own home, as the workers efficiently removed each section of the ramp that had been my lifeline for the past 5 years. The ramp my husband Harold had insisted on installing to the highest specifications, knowing that one day we'd need it. He'd been right, though he never lived to see me use it. The ramp was expensive, commercial grade, with perfect slopes, dual handrails, and a non-slip surface that worked even in winter. Brittany had complained about it being an eyesore since she'd married Derek 2 years ago. But I never thought she'd actually remove it. Ma'am? One of the workers had approached the window, looking uncomfortable. Are you sure about this? This is a pretty serious accessibility ramp. Looks like someone needs it. She's going to a nursing home tomorrow, Brittany said loudly, ensuring I could hear. Ramps included. Just keep working. I wheeled myself to the front door, unlocking it and pushing it open. Stop. This is my house. You can't remove that ramp. The workers hesitated, looking between Brittany and me. Actually, Brittany said, pulling out her phone and showing them something, it's my house. My name is on the deed as of 6 months ago when my husband inherited it. And I want that ramp gone. It was true. After Harold died, I put Derek on the deed for estate planning purposes, never imagining he'd add his wife's name without telling me. I'd found out only when the property tax bill arrived with both their names on it. Please, I begged the workers. I'm trapped without that ramp. I can't get my chair down those steps. The younger worker looked stricken. Lady, maybe we should. You'll get paid either way, Brittany interrupted, pulling out cash. Here's an extra $200 each to get it done quickly. I have somewhere to be. Money talks. They went back to work, though the younger one kept glancing at me apologetically. That's when the white government sedan pulled up. The man who stepped out was everything Brittany wasn't expecting. Marcus Thompson, according to his badge, Americans with Disabilities Act Compliance Inspector. He was tall, official-looking, and his expression as he surveyed the scene. Workers dismantling a ramp, me visible through the doorway in my wheelchair, Brittany holding cash, went from professional to stern in seconds. "Stop work immediately," he commanded, his voice carrying the kind of authority that made everyone freeze. "I'm here for a routine ADA compliance inspection, but it appears I've arrived at an interesting time." Brittany tried to recover, plastering on her fake smile. "Oh, this is just maintenance. We're upgrading." "Ma'am, I can see the ramp sections in that truck. That's not maintenance, that's removal." He pulled out his tablet, already documenting. "This residence is listed as the primary dwelling of Dorothy Patterson, age 63, mobility impaired. Is that correct?" "How do you know that?" Brittany sputtered. "Because Mrs. Patterson's late husband filed all the proper paperwork when the ramp was installed. It's part of the county ADA compliance database. We do routine checks to ensure accessibility features remain functional and up to code." He looked at the partially dismantled ramp. This ramp was not only functional but exceeded requirements. "Why is it being removed?" "She's going to a nursing home," Brittany said quickly. "She doesn't need it anymore." Marcus walked up to where I sat in the doorway, introducing himself formally. "Mrs. Patterson, are you moving to a nursing home voluntarily?" "Absolutely not," I said firmly. "This is my home. My daughter-in-law sold my ramp without my knowledge or consent and apparently plans to have me removed tomorrow against my will." He made more notes. "Mrs. Patterson, are you mentally competent?" "Completely. I managed an accounting firm for 20 years before my accident. I handle all my own finances, medical decisions, and daily care with the help of a part-time aide. I'm paralyzed, not incompetent." "She's lying," Brittany interjected. "She's confused. Elderly people often." "I'm going to stop you right there," Marcus interrupted. "Age and disability do not equal incompetence. Mrs. Patterson, do you have documentation of your mental competency?" "My doctor can provide that immediately," I said. "I had a full evaluation 3 months ago for insurance purposes. Perfect cognitive scores." Marcus turned back to Brittany, and his expression was cold. "Are you aware that removing accessibility features from a residence where a disabled person lives is a federal crime under the ADA?" Brittany's face went white. "But it's my house. Ownership doesn't override federal disability law. If a disabled person legally resides here, you cannot remove their means of access. Furthermore, attempting to force a mentally competent disabled person into a care facility against their will constitutes elder abuse and false imprisonment." He turned to the workers. "Gentlemen, you'll need to reassemble that ramp immediately. Every piece exactly as it was." "But she paid us," the older worker started. "Whatever she paid you is now evidence. Reassemble the ramp, or you'll be named as co-defendants in federal ADA violations." They scrambled to unload the truck. Brittany pulled out her phone. "I'm calling my husband." "Please do," Marcus said. "In fact, I insist on it. Put him on speaker." She hesitated, then dialed. Derek answered on the third ring. "Britt? I'm about to board." "Derek," she said in her victim voice. "There's some inspector here harassing me about your mother's ramp." "What about Mom's ramp?" Derek's voice sharpened. Marcus took the phone. "Mr. Patterson, this is Marcus Thompson, ADA Compliance Inspector. I've arrived to find your wife directing workers to remove your mother's wheelchair ramp, apparently planning to place her in a nursing facility against her will." "What?" Derek's shout was loud enough for everyone to hear. "Brittany, what the hell are you doing? You said you were tired of taking care of her," Brittany protested. "I said I was tired after a long day. I never said to remove her ramp. I never said to put her in a home." "Mom, are you there? Are you okay?" "I'm here, son," I called out. "I'm fine, just trapped in a house without my ramp. I'm getting on the next flight home." "Brittany, do not touch anything else." "Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "Mr. Patterson," Marcus interrupted, You should know that these actions constitute multiple federal violations. The fines start at $75,000 for first offenses and can reach $150,000 for willful violations. Additionally, your wife could face criminal charges for elder abuse. Oh my God, Derek breathed. Mom, I swear I didn't know. Brittany told me you were thinking about assisted living yourself. That's a lie, Derek, I said quietly. I never said that. I want to stay in my home. Marcus continued documenting while the workers reassembled the ramp. Mrs. Patterson, you'll need to file a formal complaint. I also recommend contacting Adult Protective Services and possibly a lawyer specializing in elder law. This is ridiculous. Brittany exploded. She's just a burden. She can't walk. Someone has to do everything for her. Derek works constantly to pay for her care. Actually, I said, finding my voice, my insurance covers my part-time aid. My Social Security and Harold's pension cover my expenses. And the house is paid off. Has been for 10 years. So what exactly is Derek paying for? Brittany's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Mrs. Patterson, has money been taken from your accounts? I haven't checked lately. Brittany usually gets my mail. We'll be looking into that as well, Marcus said ominously. The younger worker approached. Sir, we've got the main section back in place, but some bolts were damaged during removal. It's not safe to use yet. Marcus turned to Brittany. You'll need to have this professionally repaired immediately. I'm issuing an emergency order. If this ramp isn't fully functional within 24 hours, you'll face immediate fines and possible arrest. Arrest? She shrieked. Unlawful imprisonment of a disabled person, ma'am. Mrs. Patterson is currently trapped in her home. That's a felony. Derek's voice came through the phone again. I'm at the airport. I'll be home in 4 hours. Brittany, pack your things. We're done. Derek, you can't. You tried to imprison my mother. You lied to me. We're done. Brittany grabbed her purse and fled to her car, but Marcus called after her. Mom, you can't leave. You're responsible for ensuring this ramp is repaired today. Make Derek do it. She screamed and peeled out of the driveway. Marcus sighed and made more notes. Mrs. Patterson, I'm calling emergency services to ensure you have safe access immediately. They'll install a temporary ramp within the hour. I'm also contacting APS and the police regarding your daughter-in-law's actions. As we waited, Mrs. Henderson from next door came over. Dorothy, I saw everything. I've been recording on my phone since they started this morning. I knew something wasn't right. More neighbors appeared, all expressing outrage and support. Mr. Kim from across the street was a contractor and immediately offered to repair the ramp properly. No charge, Dorothy. You helped my mother with her taxes for years when she couldn't afford an accountant. Within an hour, the temporary ramp was installed. Within 2 hours, Mr. Kim had a crew fixing the permanent one. Adult Protective Services arrived and took my statement. The police took Brittany's license plate information. Derek arrived as they were finishing the repairs, looking haggard and furious. He hugged me tightly from his knees, crying, Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was capable of this. When she said you were considering assisted living, I thought it was your choice. I should have talked to you directly. She's been intercepting my mail, I told him gently, controlling the narrative. It's not your fault, son. Marcus returned with final documentation. Mr. Patterson, your wife is facing fines of $150,000 for willful ADA violations, plus criminal charges for attempted elder abuse and false imprisonment. Your mother will need to file a restraining order immediately. What about the house? Derek asked. Brittany's name is on the deed. That'll be handled in divorce court, Marcus said. But given the circumstances, attempted elder abuse, federal violations, I doubt you'll get much sympathy from a judge. That evening, with my ramp fully repaired and reinforced, I sat on my porch for the first time in months. Brittany had been served with papers at her hotel. She'd also been fired from her job once her employer saw the news coverage. Mrs. Henderson's video had gone viral with the title Evil Daughter-in-Law Tries to Trap Disabled Mother-in-Law. Derek sat beside me, exhausted but relieved. Mom, we're taking Brittany's name off the deed immediately. Actually, I'm putting the house entirely back in your name. It should have stayed that way. We'll do whatever makes sense legally, I said. But Derek, How did you not see who she really was? He sighed. She was different when we dated. Sweet, caring. The minute we got married and she found out about the house, the life insurance, your savings, she changed. Or maybe she just stopped pretending. The inspector said she might have been stealing from me. We'll find out everything. I've already called a forensic accountant. A week later, the investigation revealed Brittany had redirected $47,000 from my accounts over 6 months. She'd been planning to put me in the cheapest facility she could find and use my money for herself. She was arrested on multiple charges. The ADA fines alone would destroy her financially. The criminal charges meant prison time. Derek's divorce was uncontested. She had no leverage left. But the best part? The younger worker who looked so guilty? He became a whistleblower, revealing that Brittany had done this to 3 other elderly residents, buying their ramps cheap and reselling them. All 3 cases were reopened. 6 months later, I still live in my home. Derek lives here too now, in the mother-in-law suite we built years ago. We've hired a full-time aide who's wonderful. My ramp isn't just repaired. It's been featured in an ADA compliance textbook as an example of excellence in accessibility design. Brittany is serving 3 to 5 years in federal prison. The judge called her actions heinous exploitation of the vulnerable for personal gain. Derek met someone new at a disability advocacy event. A woman whose brother uses a wheelchair. She understands that my independence isn't negotiable. And Marcus Thompson. He still does his inspections, but now he also gives seminars on recognizing elder abuse. He uses my case as an example, always ending with, a ramp isn't just metal and wood. It's freedom, dignity, and independence. Anyone who takes that away is stealing more than property. They're stealing someone's life. Every morning, I roll down my reinforced, perfectly graded ramp to get my newspaper. Each smooth roll is a reminder that I won. That dignity won. That the system, when it works, protects people like me from people like Brittany. The ramp Harold insisted on installing didn't just give me access to the world. In the end, it saved me from those who would have trapped me. And that's why I had it painted bright yellow after the repairs, so everyone can see it, bold and unapologetic, a declaration that I'm here, I'm staying, and no one will ever trap me in my own home again. The laptop screen went black at 11:47 p.m. on January 14th. 13 minutes before the college application deadline. I watched my stepdad Victor hold down the power button while simultaneously running his military-grade data wiper program from his USB drive. The one he bragged could erase a hard drive so clean, the FBI couldn't recover it. Worthless girls don't need futures, he smirked, pulling out the USB once the program finished. Problem solved. My name is Athena. Ironic, naming me after the goddess of wisdom. Then spending 17 years trying to destroy any trace of it. I sat there, staring at my dead laptop, the one that supposedly contained 12 college applications, 3 scholarship essays, and my entire portfolio for art school supplements. All that work, Mom said, entering my room with her signature weapon, a cup of coffee, black, scalding hot. She walked over to my desk where my external backup drive sat, its small blue light blinking innocently. Would be such a shame if something happened to this too. She poured the entire cup over the drive. Coffee seeped into every port, every crevice. The blue light flickered once, then died. Your dreams belong in the trash, she said, tossing the ruined drive into my wastepaper basket, like you. I let my face crumble, let tears roll down my cheeks, let my hands shake as I reached for the laptop that would never turn on again. Inside, though, I was counting down the minutes until midnight, when 17 colleges would receive my applications, submitted 3 days ago from Mrs. Rodriguez's computer during our emergency counseling session. Please, I whispered, making my voice crack. The deadlines are in 12 minutes. Then you have 12 minutes to learn that dreams are for real daughters, Victor said, emphasis on real because I was the reminder of Mom's first marriage, the one to my father who died when I was 2, not mistakes their mothers should have aborted. I worked so hard, I said, which was true. I had worked hard, on applications, on grades, on the elaborate deception that led to this moment. Hard work from worthless people is still worthless, Mom said, lighting a cigarette even though she knew the smoke made my asthma worse. Maybe now you'll focus on realistic goals, like marrying someone who'll tolerate you. Victor laughed. Even that's ambitious. They left me there with my dead electronics and fabricated devastation. I waited until I heard their bedroom door close, then pulled out my phone, the one they didn't know had hotspot capabilities, and opened my email. 17 confirmation emails. Your application has been received. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT, plus 12 safety schools and targets. Though calling them safety seemed wrong when you had a 4.9 GPA and perfect SATs. I scrolled to 3 days ago to the email from Mrs. Rodriguez. All applications submitted successfully. Transcript sent. Recommendation letters attached. Fee waivers approved based on documented household abuse. Your parents will never know. The backup drive in the trash? It was backed up to 3 different cloud services. The laptop. Everything was saved online since the moment I created it. But more importantly, neither device had any college application material on it for the past week. I'd scrubbed them clean, knowing this night would come. See, Victor had been telegraphing this move for months. Sure would be terrible if something happened to your computer right before deadlines, he'd say. Technology is so unreliable. Mom would add, remember when Cousin Beth's daughter lost all her applications? Had to take a gap year. Never did make it to college. So I prepared, like a chess player thinking 12 moves ahead. The next morning was Saturday. I came downstairs with swollen eyes from carefully applied vapor rub and sat at the breakfast table in defeated silence. No breakfast for failures, Victor said, reading his tablet. You can eat when you get a job to pay us back for 17 years of wasted resources. Speaking of which, Mom added, we've signed you up for shifts at Victor's warehouse. You start Monday. Might as well learn something useful. I nodded meekly. Yes, Mom. The first acceptance came Tuesday. I was at school when my phone buzzed. MIT, full ride, early action acceptance. I screenshot it and sent it to Mrs. Rodriguez, who replied with a string of celebration emojis. Don't react, she added. Stay in character. By Friday, I had 3 more acceptances. Yale, Stanford, Columbia. All with significant financial aid. But the one that mattered came the following Tuesday. Harvard, not just acceptance, the Robertson Scholarship. Full ride plus stipend, study abroad, research funding. The kind of scholarship they give to maybe 5 students a year. Mrs. Rodriguez actually cried when I showed her. This is it, she said. This is your freedom. We waited another week. Let the acceptances pile up. 17 applications, 15 acceptances, 12 full rides or near full rides. My safety schools were offering honors programs and merit scholarships. My reaches were competing with financial packages. Then came the article. The local newspaper ran a feature on college admissions from our high school. They'd interviewed the counselors about success stories. Mrs. Rodriguez had casually mentioned that one student had achieved something unprecedented, acceptance to every Ivy League school, all with significant aid. She didn't name me, she didn't have to. Victor saw it first. He was reading the Sunday paper when his face went from normal to purple in about 3 seconds. Athena, he roared. I came downstairs, still playing the defeated daughter, shoulders slumped. He shoved the paper at me. Explain this. I read it slowly, letting false confusion cross my face. Someone got into all the Ivies? That's amazing. Someone from your schedule. We have a lot of smart kids. Mom snatched the paper, reading rapidly. Her face went white. When our college decisions released. March, I said truthfully. Why? Because if you somehow, Victor started, then stopped. You couldn't have. I destroyed everything. You did, I agreed. January 14th, 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes before deadline. The precision of my response made them pause. Then whoa, Mom began. My phone rang. Mrs. Rodriguez calling on speaker from her office as we planned. Athena, can you come to my office? We need to discuss your Harvard scholarship. Dead silence in the kitchen. I'm sorry. I said into the phone, loud enough for them to hear. What scholarship? The Robertson, you won it. Full ride plus stipend. Harvard wants to do a press release. Can you come in? I looked at my parents, their faces cycling through confusion, rage, and disbelief. How? Victor whispered. I set down the phone. Dreams aren't just for real daughters, I said quietly. They're for smart daughters who back up their backups and have counselors who've been documenting abuse for 3 years. You couldn't have submitted. I submitted everything January 11th, I interrupted, 3 days before you destroyed my laptop. From Mrs. Rodriguez's computer. With her help. Completely legal since I'm 17 and applying for emancipation based on educational sabotage. Mom threw her coffee mug at the wall. It shattered, leaving a brown stain. You lying little. I never lied, I said calmly. You destroyed my laptop. You ruined my backup drive. Those things happened. You just destroyed them after my applications were already submitted. Victor lunged at me, but I was already backing away, phone recording. Touch me and this goes to Harvard. They have a very strict policy about students coming from abusive homes. They provide extra support, counseling, and legal aid. He stopped, fists clenched. You want to know the best part? I asked. Every school offered me aid specifically designated for students escaping abusive households. Apparently, destroying your child's college applications is considered educational abuse. Mrs. Rodriguez has been documenting everything, your threats, your comments about worthless girls. The plan to force me into warehouse work. Get out, Mom hissed. Gladly, I've been packed for 3 days. I went upstairs, grabbed the bag I'd hidden, and came back down. They were still standing there, frozen in their rage. By the way, I said at the door, the FBI can actually recover data from military-grade white drives. But they only need to if there had been something important on it. Mine just had a copy of my junior year essays and some music. The real applications were never on that laptop. The door slammed behind me, but I heard Victor roar and something else shatter. Mrs. Rodriguez was waiting in her car at the corner, as planned. You okay? I'm free, I said, and for the first time in years, I actually smiled. The emancipation went through in record time. The judge read the documentation, 3 years of recorded threats. The destroyed electronics, the attempt to force me into labor instead of college, and granted it immediately. You orchestrated your own rescue, she told me privately. That takes extraordinary intelligence and courage. Victor and Mom tried to contest it, claiming I'd manipulated the situation. But the security footage from our house, Victor had installed cameras everywhere. Not realizing they'd document his abuse, showed them destroying my property while laughing about ruining my future. Harvard flew me out for accepted students weekend. I met the other Robertson scholars, a refugee from Syria who taught herself calculus in a camp, a boy from rural Alabama who'd built a nuclear reactor in his garage, a girl from foster care who'd published 3 novels. What's your story? They asked. I survived my parents trying to delete my future, I said, literally. The summer before college, I lived with Mrs. Rodriguez. She helped me prepare, both academically and emotionally. We bought dorm supplies with the stipend money. She taught me to cook, to budget, to exist without constant fear. The night before I left for Harvard, she handed me a gift, a new laptop. No one can ever wipe this one, she said. It's yours. Only yours. Victor sent one email forwarded through my lawyer. You owe us $289,000 for raising you. I replied with a link to the Harvard financial aid page, which showed that low-income families pay nothing. Thanks for keeping me poor enough to qualify for a full ride. Mom never contacted me directly, but I heard from cousins that she told everyone I'd stolen my acceptance, that I'd hacked the system somehow. The truth was simpler and more painful for her. I'd just been smarter than they thought. My freshman year at Harvard, I founded a nonprofit called Backup Dreams. We help students in abusive households apply to college secretly, providing secure computers, fee waivers, and counselors willing to submit applications confidentially. We've helped 847 students so far. Every application is submitted in triplicate. Every document is backed up in 4 places. Every dream is protected from parents who think they own their children's futures. I graduated summa cum laude. Law school at Yale, full scholarship. Now I'm a civil rights attorney specializing in educational access cases. I sue parents who sabotage their children's futures. I win every time. The laptop Victor destroyed is in my office, displayed in a glass case. Below it, a placard. Destroyed January 14th, 11:47 p.m. Application submitted January 11th, 2:00 p.m. Dreams, intact. Next to it is the coffee-stained backup drive with its own placard. Backup of a backup of a backup. The dreams were never here. Mrs. Rodriguez comes to every important event: graduation, board exam results, my first Supreme Court case. She's the mother I chose, not the one who poured coffee on my dreams. Sometimes young people contact me, terrified their parents will destroy their applications. I tell them what Mrs. Rodriguez told me. Dreams aren't stored on hard drives. They're stored in determination, and no amount of coffee or data wiping can destroy what lives in your mind. Victor's warehouse went bankrupt last year. Mom works retail. They never made it to any of my graduations, but I know they saw the pictures. Harvard's social media team loved the story of the girl whose parents deleted her dreams but not her determination. The USB drive Victor used to wipe my laptop, I kept that too. Had it framed with a photo from my Harvard graduation. The inscription reads, "Military grade wiper, couldn't wipe out a military grade mind." They thought they were deleting my applications. They were actually deleting themselves from my success story. And unlike my applications, I didn't keep any backups of them.
The restaurant's private dining room hummed with the satisfied chatter of family members who'd just finished an excellent meal when Veronica's announcement cut through conversations like a hot knife through butter. "I'm replacing you Monday," she declared, her perfectly veneered smile aimed at me like a weapon. "The boss loves me." I carefully pushed the crystal salt shaker across the mahogany table, watching it catch the candlelight as I measured my words. "Which boss?" "I bought the company last week. HR doesn't have your paperwork." Did she really think she could waltz into my family dinner, announce she was stealing my job, and not know she'd just declared war on the person who now signed every paycheck at Meridian Technologies? The private room at Chiz Laurent went silent. Forks hovering, wine glasses suspended mid-sip. My husband Daniel's face had frozen in an expression somewhere between horror and confusion. His sister Veronica's triumphant smile began to falter like a bad internet connection. "What do you mean? You bought the company?" Her voice climbed an octave. I dabbed my lips with the linen napkin, taking my time. "I mean that as of last Tuesday, I own 87% of Meridian Technologies. The deal closed while you were apparently schmoozing with middle management and planning your coup." Around the table, family members began to stir. My mother-in-law Grace set down her champagne flute with a sharp clink. Father-in-law Richard's eyebrows had climbed toward his receding hairline. Daniel's brother Marcus was openly gaping. "That's impossible." Veronica sputtered. "Mr. Harrison would have told me. We had lunch 3 times this week." "Tom Harrison?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling through emails. The same Tom Harrison who's been desperately trying to keep his job since the acquisition. The one who's been feeding you promises he has no authority to keep. I found the email I wanted and read aloud. "Dear Ms. Turner, I want to assure you that despite the ownership transition, I remain committed to maintaining stability in middle management. However, I must inform you that all hiring decisions now require owner approval. Best regards, Tom." "Middle management?" Veronica's voice cracked. "He's senior vice president." "Was," I corrected. "His new title is regional sales coordinator. Bit of a demotion, but he's lucky to still have a desk." Daniel finally found his voice. "Madeline, why didn't you tell me you were buying Meridian?" I turned to my husband, the man who'd spent the last 6 months telling me I should be grateful for my position, that I was lucky to have survived 3 rounds of layoffs. "When would I have told you?" "During one of your lectures about how I should be nicer to Tom Harrison. Or maybe while you were suggesting I help Veronica get an interview." "This is about me, isn't it?" Veronica stood, her chair scraping against the floor. "You always been jealous." "Jealous?" I laughed, genuinely amused. "Of what?" "Your 2 failed MLM schemes. Your 3 months at that boutique before they caught you stealing. Your brief stint as a social media influencer with 500 bot followers." "How dare you?" She turned to Daniel. "Are you going to let her talk to me like this?" Daniel looked between us, clearly out of his depth. Maddie, you bought your company." "Our company now," I clarified. Though our is generous since you've never shown interest in my career beyond whether it conflicted with family dinners. Marcus cleared his throat. Wait, Veronica, didn't you tell us Madeline was getting fired? That's why you were taking her job. I smiled, the pieces falling into place. Let me guess. Tom told you I was on the chopping block. Said he could slide you right into my position. Senior technical analyst, right? Veronica's silence was answer enough. Here's what actually happened, I continued, refilling my wine glass. Tom Harrison has been trying to force me out for 2 years. Not because of performance, I've exceeded every metric, but because I refused his advances and reported him to HR. Grace gasped. Richard shifted uncomfortably. HR buried it. Of course. Tom's golf buddy ran the department. So I started documenting everything. Every inappropriate comment. Every denied promotion. Every project he stole credit for. And while I was building my case, I was also building something else. A buyout proposal. You planned this, Veronica accused. For 18 months, I confirmed. Found investors who believed in my vision for Meridian. Negotiated with the board while Tom was busy playing politics. Closed the deal while he was having those lunches with you, promising you my job. I pulled up another document on my phone. Speaking of which, let's discuss your qualifications for senior technical analyst. Bachelor's degree in computer science? No. Master's in data analytics? No. Any technical certifications? No. Previous experience in tech? Unless we count that week you tried to sell essential oils on Facebook, also no. Tom said he'd train me. Tom couldn't train a dog to sit. He's been coasting on other people's work for a decade. I locked my phone. But let's get back to your announcement. You're replacing me Monday? Veronica lifted her chin. Tom promised. Tom's promises expired when his signature authority did. But here's what's going to happen Monday. You're going to arrive at Meridian's lobby at 9 a.m., just like you planned. You'll tell security you're there to start your new position. They'll check their list, find no Veronica Patterson, and politely ask you to leave. You can't do this. I can do whatever I want. It's my company. I signaled the waiter for the check. But I'm not completely heartless. We are family after all. Hope flickered in her eyes. So I'll give you the same opportunity I give all applicants. Submit your resume through our website. If you meet the minimum qualifications for any open position, HR will contact you for an interview. What positions are open? She asked desperately. Let's see. We need a janitor for the night shift. Part-time receptionist on weekends. Oh, and cafeteria services is always hiring. The table erupted. Grace accused me of humiliating the family. Richard muttered about vindictive women. Marcus tried to play peacemaker. Through it all, Daniel sat silent, processing the reality that his wife hadn't just survived corporate politics, she'd won the entire game. You set her up, he finally said. You knew Tom was feeding her lies and you let her believe them. I let a woman who spent 3 years calling me a pencil pusher and suggesting I should quit to have babies chase her own delusions, I corrected. The same woman who told your entire family I was too ambitious for my own good. Who whispered that I was neglecting you by working late. Who suggested, loudly, at last Christmas that you deserved a real wife who understood priorities. She didn't mean, Grace started. She meant every word. I cut her off. Just like she meant it when she told the neighbors I was having an affair with my boss. Ironic, considering she's the one having lunch dates with Tom Harrison. Veronica's face flushed. Those were professional meetings. In hotel restaurants. With wine. Ending with him walking you to your car and lingering goodbyes. I shook my head. I have security footage, Veronica. Another perk of owning the company. Access to all the cameras in our parking garage. You spied on me? I monitored my facilities for security purposes and happened to notice an unauthorized visitor having repeated meetings with an employee under investigation for harassment. The waiter arrived with the check. I handed him my card. the new one with owner and CEO, printed beneath my name. "This is illegal," Richard announced. "Discrimination. Retaliation. We'll sue." "For what?" I asked mildly. "Not hiring an unqualified applicant who hasn't even applied. Refusing to honor promises made by an employee without authority, or maybe for buying a company with my own money and running it as I see fit." I signed the receipt and stood. "Here's some free advice, Richard. Your daughter is unemployed with no skills and champagne tastes. Instead of enabling her fantasies about stealing other people's jobs, maybe encourage her to earn one." "You've changed," Daniel said quietly. "No," I replied, gathering my coat. "I've just stopped pretending to be less than I am to make others comfortable." Veronica made one last attempt. "Madeline, please. We're family. Surely you could find something." "I found something," I interrupted. "I found that you've been plotting to take my job for months. I found that you were willing to celebrate my supposed firing at a family dinner. I found that you announced my replacement with joy in your voice and malice in your heart." I looked around the table at these people I'd tried so hard to please for 7 years. "I also found $22 million in venture capital and bought a company. Funny how different our definitions of achievement are." "Where are you going?" Daniel asked as I headed for the door. "Back to my office. The one Veronica won't be occupying Monday or any other day. We're announcing the acquisition tomorrow, and I have a press release to approve. It's Saturday night. And I own a company that needs restructuring. That's what real executives do, Veronica. Work. Not scheme over lunches with married men twice their age." I paused at the door, looking back at the wreckage of dinner. "Oh, and Tom Harrison. They'll be clearing out his office Monday morning. Security will escort him out at 9 a.m. Maybe you can keep him company in the lobby." The drive back to Meridian's headquarters was peaceful. The building stood gleaming in the city lights, my name soon to replace the old logo. 22 floors of potential, innovation, and hard-won success. My phone buzzed with messages I ignored. Daniel trying to process. Grace demanding apologies. Veronica threatening lawsuits. Let them rage. I had work to do. In my office, the CEO's office now. I looked at the planning wall I'd hidden behind false panels for 18 months. Every move mapped out. Every contingency considered. Veronica's attempted coup was just a minor footnote, barely worth the post-it note I'd allocated to Harrison's revenge plots. Tom had thought he was so clever, promising my job to my sister-in-law. He'd probably imagined the poetry of it, replacing me with family, making every holiday a reminder of his power. Instead, he'd given me the perfect opportunity to reveal the truth and clean house simultaneously. My assistant knocked and entered with a stack of transition documents. "Working late on a Saturday, Ms. Turner?" "Just getting started, Jennifer. Is the all-hands meeting scheduled for Monday? 9:30 a.m. Right after Mr. Harrison's departure." I smiled. "Perfect. Let's make sure security knows to be especially professional. We want to set the right tone for the new era." As I worked through the night, preparing to transform Meridian from a mediocre tech firm into the powerhouse I knew it could be, I thought about Veronica standing in that lobby Monday morning. The confusion, the humiliation, the slow realization that her big announcement had been nothing but empty words. She'd said the boss loved her. She just hadn't realized which boss actually mattered. By dawn, I'd approved the press release, finalized the restructuring plan, and sent offer letters to 3 brilliant developers Tom had driven away. Meridian Technologies was about to become everything I'd envisioned. And Veronica? She'd learned what I'd known for years. You don't get handed success at family dinners. You earn it in offices at 3 a.m., in boardrooms facing down doubters, in moments when you choose to buy the company rather than beg for recognition from men who'll never give it. She'd announced she was taking my position. Instead, she'd simply shown everyone at that table exactly why she never could. Monday morning came faster than expected. I arrived at 7 a.m. to find Tom Harrison already in the lobby, security box in hand, arguing with Kurds about misunderstandings and authorization. At 9 a.m. sharp, Veronica walked through the revolving doors in her new suit, head high, confidence radiating. She marched to the security desk, announced herself, and waited for her moment of triumph. The guard's polite confusion was almost painful to watch. The checking of lists. The apologetic shrug. The suggestion that perhaps she was at the wrong building. Tom noticed her then, his face cycling through relief, hope, and finally understanding as security firmly escorted him toward the exit. Their eyes met across the marble lobby, two conspirators realizing their plot had failed before it began. I watched from the mezzanine, coffee in hand, as my sister-in-law and my former tormentor were politely but firmly removed from my building. Below, employees streamed in for the all-hands meeting where they'd learn about new ownership, new opportunities, and a new zero-tolerance policy for harassment and nepotism. Veronica looked up just before exiting, our eyes meeting across 2 floors and a lifetime of different choices. I raised my coffee cup in a small salute. She'd announced she was replacing me. But some positions can't be stolen, only earned. And that was a lesson worth teaching, even if it came with a side of family drama. My phone buzzed. Daniel. We need to talk. I typed back. In my office. Top floor. Ask for the CEO. Time to see if my marriage could survive my success, as well as it had weathered my struggles. But either way, Meridian Technologies was mine. And nobody, not Tom Harrison, not Veronica, not even my well-meaning, but misguided husband, would make me pretend otherwise. The boss did love Veronica, just not the boss she'd thought, and not in the way she'd hoped.
The blood on my uniform had already dried to rust brown by the time Ethan climbed out of his father's Mercedes. My 8-year-old son dragged his Spider-Man backpack across the driveway, his small shoulders slumped in a way that made my chest tighten. Sunday evening drop-offs were always hard, but something about tonight felt different. "Hey, baby," I called out, forcing brightness into my voice despite the exhaustion that sat on my bones like lead. "How was Dad's?" Ethan stopped 3 feet from me, his eyes fixed on my uniform. On the blood. "Sarah says real moms don't work night shifts." The words hit me like a physical blow. I just finished a 12-hour shift that included a multi-car pileup on I-95. 3 critical, 1 DOA. A 7-year-old girl who looked too much like Ethan. I'd held her hand while we cut her from the wreckage, promised her mother we'd save her. We did. The blood on my uniform was proof of that promise kept. Real moms bake cookies, Ethan continued, still not meeting my highs. And they're home when kids get back from school. And they don't miss soccer games because of work. I knelt down, bringing myself to his level. "Ethan, honey." Sarah made snickerdoodles. He finally looked at me, and the judgment in his 8-year-old eyes nearly broke me. "From scratch. She says store-bought cookies are for moms who don't care enough." Ryan's Mercedes was already pulling away, but I caught a glimpse of Sarah in the passenger seat. Blonde, polished, wearing the kind of sundress that never saw a bloodstain or a graveyard shift. She'd been Ryan's secretary before she became his wife, 23 to his 38, with all the time in the world to play homemaker in the house my alimony checks helped pay for. "Come on," I said quietly. "Let's get you inside. I'll make dinner." Frozen pizza again. The disdain in his voice wasn't his. It was learned. Practiced. "Actually, I made lasagna this morning before my shift. It's in the fridge." But he was already walking past me, careful not to let my bloody uniform touch him. I stood in my driveway for a long moment, watching the sun set over our small duplex. 2 years post-divorce, and I thought we found our rhythm. Ryan got weekends, I got weekdays. He got to be Disney dad with his new wife. I got homework and discipline and rushing from school pickup to night shifts. But we were making it work. Or so I thought. Inside, Ethan had already disappeared into his room. I peeled off my uniform, throwing it into the washing machine with the practiced efficiency of someone who cleaned blood out of fabric too many times to count. The shower was hot enough to hurt, but it couldn't wash away the echo of my son's words. Asterisk real moms don't work night shifts, asterisk. I'd become a paramedic before Ethan was born, back when Ryan claimed to admire my dedication to helping others. That admiration lasted exactly until I went back to work after maternity leave. Suddenly, my life-saving career became selfish. My irregular hours were abandonment. The lives I saved meant nothing compared to the PTA meetings I missed. The lasagna reheated while I changed into clean clothes. I'd made it from scratch yesterday morning after getting home from a shift, before catching 4 hours of sleep. The meat sauce had simmered for 3 hours. I grated fresh mozzarella and parmesan, made the bechamel from memory. It was Ethan's favorite. "Dinner's ready," I called. He came out reluctantly, slumping into his chair like I was forcing him to eat gruel. 2 bites in, though, his face softened. "This is good, Mom." "Thanks, baby." I pushed my own portion around, appetite gone. "So tell me about your weekend, besides the cookies." We went to the country club. Sarah played tennis with me. She says she can come to all my soccer games since she doesn't have to work. Each word was a carefully placed knife. I wondered how long Sarah had been planting me seeds, how many weekend visits it had taken to turn my son against me. "That's nice," I managed. "You know I come to every game I can." "You missed the last 3. "I was working, Ethan, saving lives." He shrugged, 8 years old and already mastering his father's dismissive gestures. "Sarah says being a mom should be the most important job." I set down my fork carefully, reminding myself that he was 8. He was repeating what he'd been told. This wasn't really him. "Do you remember last month when your friend Jake's grandpa had a heart attack?" Ethan nodded wearily. "I was the paramedic who saved him. If I hadn't been working that night shift, Jake's grandpa might have died." "But, and remember the car accident near your school? The one where the crossing guard got hurt? That was my partner Maria and me who helped her. She's back at work now because we were there." Ethan pushed lasagna around his plate, processing this. "Sarah says." "I'd like to hear what you think," I interrupted gently. "Not what Sarah says. What do you think?" He was quiet for so long, I thought he wouldn't answer. "Then, I think I wish you were home more." "I wish that too, baby, every single day." That night, after Ethan was asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a cup of coffee strong enough to strip paint. I'd been documenting everything since the divorce. Every missed child support payment, every time Ryan was late for pickup, every passive-aggressive text. But I'd never thought I'd need to document this. I started typing. Sunday, October 15th. Ethan returned from weekend visit expressing that Sarah says real moms don't work night shifts and real moms bake cookies. Child appeared distressed and withdrew from physical affection. Expressed criticism of my work schedule and career that mirrors ex-husband's previous complaints. The coffee turned cold as I typed, documenting every comment, every shift in my son's behavior over the past few months. The pattern emerged like a toxicology report, slow poisoning of a child's mind against his mother. Monday morning came too fast. I dropped Ethan at school, knowing how he let me hug him but didn't hug back. Then I drove to my lawyer's office, still in the scrubs I'd thrown on at 5 a.m. Natalie Reeves had handled my divorce with the kind of ruthless efficiency that made Ryan's lawyer cry twice. She took one look at my face and poured me coffee without asking. What did he do now? I slid her my documentation. She read in silence, her expression growing darker with each page. "Parental alienation," she said finally. "Clear as day. The question is what we do about it. I want to request a modification of custody." She leaned back. "Based on what grounds?" "On the grounds that his new wife is systematically turning my son against me. That she's psychologically manipulating an 8-year-old to believe his mother's career, saving lives, makes me less of a parent." "You have proof beyond these comments." I thought about Ethan's face, the careful way he'd avoided my uniform. "What kind of proof do you need?" "More than hurt feelings. We need a pattern. Documentation. Maybe even recordings if Illinois law allows." "Then I'll get it." The next 2 weeks were an exercise in patience. I smiled when Ethan came home parroting Sarah's wisdom about proper mothers. I didn't react when he mentioned Sarah was teaching him to cook, since working moms don't have time. I documented everything, building my case like I'd build a patient report. Methodically, thoroughly, without emotion clouding the facts. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. "Mom?" Ethan appeared in my doorway the Thursday before his next weekend visit. Can I bring cookies to school tomorrow? It's Marcus's birthday and his mom always brings treats. I was off shift, miraculously. Of course, baby. Want to make some together? His face lit up for the first time in weeks. Really? We made chocolate chip cookies from scratch, Ethan carefully measuring ingredients while I told him stories about baking with my own mother. He was laughing, covered in flour, when he suddenly stopped. Mom, can I tell you something? Always. Sarah records me sometimes, when I talk about you. My hand's still in the mixing bowl. What do you mean records you? With her phone. She asks me questions about you and our house and what we do. Then she shows Dad the videos later. They laugh sometimes. I kept my voice carefully neutral. What kind of questions? Like what you cook, and if you're tired a lot, and if you ever have anyone over, and about your work schedule. He bit his lip. Is that bad? No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong. Thank you for telling me. I tucked him in that night with extra stories and kisses, then called Natalie immediately. Recording a minor without consent is illegal in Illinois, she said after I explained. If we can prove this, it changes everything. How do we prove it? Leave that to me. The next weekend visitation came too quickly. I handed Ethan over to Ryan with the usual pleasantries, then watched them drive away. What happened next was Natalie's orchestration. A private investigator, licensed and thorough, observed the house. Completely legal from public property. By Saturday afternoon, he had what we needed. Video of Sarah sitting with Ethan on the back patio. Her phone clearly recording as she asked him leading questions about my dangerous job and whether I was too tired to take care of him properly. But the real gift came from Sarah herself. She posted the cookies on Instagram. Not just any cookies, the ones Ethan and I had made together. She claimed them as her own creation. Hashtags including #RealMomBaking, #HomemadeWithLove, #StepMomLife. The comments were a chorus of praise for her dedication to her son. I screenshot everything. Monday morning, we were back in court. Emergency hearing for custody modification based on parental alienation and illegal recording of a minor. Ryan showed up looking confused, Sarah nowhere to be seen. Your Honor, Natalie began, we have evidence that Mrs. Henderson has been systematically alienating my client's son against her, using manipulation and illegal recording to damage the mother-child relationship. The judge, Honorable Patricia Kim, a working mother of 3, reviewed our evidence with sharp eyes. The documentation, the PI's video, the Instagram post claiming my bonding activity with Ethan as Sarah's own. Mr. Henderson, Judge Kim's voice was arctic. Are you aware your wife has been recording your minor son without his mother's consent? Ryan's lawyer whispered frantically in his ear. I didn't know about any recording. And these social media posts claiming maternal activities that actually occurred at the mother's residence? More frantic whispering. Ryan's face had gone pale. Your Honor, his lawyer stood. My client was unaware of his wife's enthusiastic documentation of family life. Enthusiastic? Judge Kim's eyebrows rose. Is that what we're calling parental alienation now? The hearing lasted 2 hours. By the end, Ryan had thrown Sarah under the bus so completely I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I'm modifying the custody arrangement, Judge Kim announced. Given the evidence of systematic alienation and illegal recording, weekend visitations will be supervised for the next 3 months. Mr. Henderson, you will attend co-parenting counseling with Ms. Martinez. Your wife is prohibited from being present during visitations until further notice. Your Honor, Ryan started. Furthermore, she continued, any evidence of continued alienation will result in full custody reverting to Ms. Martinez. Am I clear? Yes, Your Honor. As we left the courthouse, Natalie squeezed my shoulder. Sarah's cookies made excellent evidence. That night, I picked Ethan up from school in my uniform. I'd just come off shift. No blood this time, just exhaustion and the satisfaction of a life saved. Mom, he ran to me, no hesitation. Guess what? We learned about community helpers today, and I told everyone my mom's a paramedic. Mrs. Foster says you're a hero. Yeah? Yeah. And Marcus asked if you could come talk to our class about saving lives, and I said you work a lot but you try because you always try for important stuff. I hugged him tight, feeling something inside me finally unclench. Sarah's not coming this weekend, he said quietly into my shoulder. Dad told me. How do you feel about that? He pulled back, considering. I think maybe real moms are the ones who show up even when they're tired, right? I think you're pretty smart for 8. Mom, I'm sorry I said those mean things about your job. You don't need to apologize, baby. You were trying to understand something complicated. Sarah made it seem simple. But it's not simple, is it? Important stuff usually isn't. I smoothed his hair, this wise child of mine. No, it's not. But we'll figure it out together. Always. That weekend, just Ethan and me, we baked cookies. Snickerdoodles because I'm petty, and they turned out better than Sarah's Instagram photos. We delivered them to the fire station where my partner Maria was on shift, letting Ethan see where Mom worked, the lives we saved, the family we built in fluorescent lit stations and the back of ambulances. Real moms work night shifts, he asked, watching Maria check the equipment. Real moms do whatever it takes to care for their families and their communities, I said. Sometimes that means baking cookies. Sometimes it means saving lives. Sometimes it means doing both on 3 hours of sleep. He nodded solemnly, then broke into a grin. My mom does both. That makes you supermom. 6 months later, the supervised visitation was lifted. Ryan had completed co-parenting counseling and credit where due, had genuinely worked to repair the damage. Sarah was allowed back, with strict guidelines about appropriate step-parent behavior. She sent me a letter, once. A short apology that felt more like obligation than remorse. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, weren't meant to be rebuilt. But Ethan and I were stronger. He understood now that love doesn't look like Pinterest-perfect cookies and country club afternoons. Sometimes love looks like a mother in blood-stained scrubs, coming home exhausted but still showing up. Sometimes it looks like frozen pizza after a double shift, eaten together while sharing stories about our days. Sometimes it looks like choosing to save lives, even when the world tells you real moms stay home. The cookies, though, we still make those from scratch, because real moms, we can do both. I was making Trevor's lunch when the email notification popped up on my phone. The sender's name made my blood freeze. FBI_CYBE or CRMES_DIVYZION at ICFBIGOV. My hands shook as I opened it. Mrs. Martinez. This is Special Agent Diana Chen with the FBI's Cybercrimes Division. We need to speak with you urgently regarding your son, Trevor's educational records and his teacher, Ms. Brittany Caldwell. Please call me immediately at the number below. This is regarding an active federal investigation. I abandoned the half-made sandwich and called with trembling fingers. Trevor, my beautiful 11-year-old son with dyslexia and ADHD, was upstairs getting ready for school, humming off-key to his favorite song. How was I about to tell him his world was about to shatter? Mrs. Martinez? Agent Chen's voice was professional but kind. Thank you for calling. I need to inform you that your son's individual education plan, along with other confidential documents, was sold online by Ms. Caldwell. We purchased these documents as part of an undercover operation. The room tilted. She sold his IEP. To who? To what she believed was a forum for parents looking to fake learning disabilities for their children. The forum was actually an FBI honeypot operation. Miss Caldwell didn't just sell the documents, she included commentary mocking Trevor and your family. I sank into a kitchen chair. What kind of commentary? I'll forward you the screenshots, but I want to warn you, they are disturbing. She called Trevor the poster child for lazy parenting and suggested his disabilities were fake, created by parents who can't accept their kid is just dumb. The sandwich ingredients blurred through my tears. Not from hurt, from pure, crystalline rage. Brittany Caldwell had been Trevor's special education teacher for 2 years. I'd sat across from her at dozens of meetings, trusted her with my son's struggles, believed her when she smiled and said she understood. Meanwhile, she was selling his private medical information to strangers and calling him stupid. Let me tell you about my son. Trevor is brilliant. He can build complex Lego structures from memory, solve math problems in his head, and has an encyclopedic knowledge of marine biology. But his brain processes written language differently. Letters flip and dance on the page. Words fracture mid-sentence. What takes other kids 10 minutes to read takes him an hour. His IEP, Individual Education Plan is a legally binding document that details his learning disabilities, required accommodations, testing modifications, and therapeutic interventions. It contains psychological evaluations, medical diagnoses, and deeply personal information about his struggles and triggers. It's protected under FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, with violations carrying federal criminal penalties. Miss Caldwell knew this. She'd signed confidentiality agreements. She'd sat in training sessions about FERPA. She'd nodded solemnly when administrators explained that violating student privacy was a federal crime. And then she'd gone home, logged onto the dark web, and put a price tag on my son's struggles. Agent Chen continued, "We've been monitoring a forum called Parentfax for Education for 6 months. It marketed itself as a place where parents could buy real IEPs and medical documents to fake disabilities for extra time on tests, college admissions advantages, and to excuse poor performance. That's sick. It gets worse. Teachers were selling documents for anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on detail level. Miss Caldwell was one of the most active sellers. She sold at least 15 students' records that we know of." 15 kids? My voice cracked. "From your school alone. We're still investigating other schools." But here's the thing, Trevor's documents were special to our investigation because of what she wrote about them. Agent Chen sent the screenshots while we talked. I opened them with shaking hands. Lilea Sting, Ultimate Lazy Parent Starter Pack, $200. Seller, Teacher Brit _91. Got a goldmine here, parents, real IED for an 11-year-old dyslexic. Although sure he is. Kid can't read because parents coddle him instead of making him practice. Mom's a helicopter who probably did his homework until teachers noticed he couldn't spell his own name right. Includes full psych evaluation, kid scored normal IQ but parents shopped doctors until they found one who diagnosed dyslexia. Speech therapy notes, spoiler, he's just lazy. 504 plan with every accommodation possible. 3 years of progress reports showing minimal improvement because you can't cure lazy. Bonus. Mom's emails demanding more services. Great templates for carrying your way to accommodations. This kid gets unlimited time on tests, typed assignments instead of handwritten, and a quiet room for testing. They'll probably get into college with these accommodations while your normal kid gets rejected. Use this as your template. Remember, the key is to cry in meetings and threaten to sue. Works every time. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. That lazy child she mocked had spent last night crying because he couldn't read the book his friends were enjoying. That coddled boy practiced reading every single night until his eyes burned, sounding out words letter by painful letter. That normal IQ kid was brilliant but trapped by a brain that processed text differently. And his teacher, the one person outside family who should have understood, had reduced his struggle to a punchline worth $200. "Mrs. Martinez," Agent Chen's voice pulled me back. "I know this is devastating, but I need you to know we take this extremely seriously. FERPA violations, wire fraud, identity theft of a minor. Miss Caldwell is facing significant federal charges. What happens now?" "We arrested Ms. Caldwell this morning. We're coordinating with your school district and the Department of Education. Every parent whose child's records were sold will be notified today. We'll need you to come in for a formal statement, and Trevor may need to be interviewed by our child specialists." "Oh God, Trevor. How do I tell him his teacher did this?" "We have counselors who can help. But first, don't send him to school today. The arrest happened on campus, and it's chaos there." I hung up and climbed the stairs to Trevor's room. He was at his desk, laboriously copying spelling words, each letter carefully formed despite his dysgraphia making his hand cramp. "Hey buddy," I said, voice artificially bright. "Snow day." "But it's not snowing." He looked confused. "Mental health snow day. Just you and me. How about pancakes and a documentary about sharks?" His face lit up. "The one about megalodons." "Whatever you want." I kept him busy while my phone exploded. Other parents from school, the principal, the district superintendent, reporters who'd somehow already gotten word. I turned off my phone and focused on Trevor, memorizing his happy face before he learned how betrayed he'd been. The full scope emerged over the following days. Agent Chen walked me through the investigation at the FBI field office while Trevor waited with a child specialist. Parent Tax for Education had operated for 2 years. Teachers, aides, even school counselors across 12 states had sold confidential student records. The buyers weren't just parents, they included identity thieves targeting children, predators looking for vulnerable kids with documented issues, and criminals building databases of children's personal information. But the site's main purpose was exactly what it advertised: helping wealthy parents fake disabilities for their non-disabled children to gain academic advantages. The forum had detailed guides, Agent Chen explained: how to coach your child to fail specific tests, which doctors were known for easy diagnosis, how to cry convincingly in IEP meetings. They treated real disabilities like a hack for beating the system. Miss Caldwell wasn't just a seller, she was a moderator, vetting other teachers and writing guides. Her post history was a masterclass in cruelty. The Autism Goldmine: how to spot parents who'll pay for any diagnosis. Dyslexia or dumb: a teacher's guide to telling the difference. ADHD: the made-up disorder that gets kids legal cocaine. Each post dripped with contempt for the children she was paid to help. How did you catch her? I asked. A real parent stumbled onto the site and reported it. We set up the honeypot, posed as buyers. Miss Caldwell was eager to sell. She actually offered us a bulk discount for multiple IEPs. The criminal charges were staggering. 15 counts of FERPA violations, 1 per student. Wire fraud. Identity theft of minors. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Trafficking in confidential information. Each FERPA violation alone carried up to 5 years in federal prison. The school district meeting was a nightmare. The superintendent, principal, and school board faced a room of furious parents. 15 families whose children's most private struggles had been packaged and sold. How did no one notice? Demanded Marcus Chen, whose daughter's autism diagnosis had been sold as a template for faking social disabilities. Why wasn't she supervised? Shouted Karen Williams, whose son's severe ADHD documentation went for $300. The superintendent looked broken. We trusted our teachers. Background checks were clean. Miss Caldwell had excellent references, good reviews. We had no indication. She called my son retarded, interrupted James Foster, in writing, on a forum, while smiling to my face at parent conferences. The room erupted. Parents crying, shouting, demanding answers that wouldn't come. How do you explain that sometimes evil hides behind elementary school teacher smiles and inspirational posters? I stood up. My son thinks he's broken. He thinks his brain is wrong. The one person outside family who was supposed to help him learn to read sold his struggles as a lazy parent starter pack. She didn't just violate FERPA. She violated trust. She violated children. The district promised reforms, better oversight, regular audits, new training. Empty words that wouldn't undo the damage. Telling Trevor was the hardest thing I've ever done. His therapist helped using simple terms an 11-year-old could grasp. Your teacher made a very bad choice, Dr. Kumar explained. She took your private school information and gave it to people who shouldn't have it. Like my IEP, Trevor asked. The paper that says how my brain works different. Yes, and that was wrong. Your IEP is private just for people who help you learn. Trevor was quiet. Then, did she think I was stupid? My heart shattered. No, baby, your brain isn't stupid. It's different, and different isn't bad. Miss Caldwell was the one who did something stupid. But I couldn't lie to him completely. When the news broke, his classmates would talk. He needed to be prepared. She said some mean things about you and other kids. Wrong things. And now she's in big trouble for it. Trevor processed this slowly, the way he processed everything, carefully, thoroughly. Is that why she sometimes rolled her eyes when I couldn't read fast? Oh God, he'd noticed. Of course he'd noticed. The trial was a media circus. Teachers sold special ed kids records on dark web, made national headlines. Miss Caldwell, the pretty blonde teacher who decorated her classroom with rainbow posters about kindness, became the face of educational betrayal. She cried at her arraignment, claiming stress and underpayment drove her to it. Teachers are undervalued, her lawyer argued. Miss Caldwell made a desperate choice trying to supplement her income. But the prosecution had her posts, her mockery, her detailed instructions on exploiting disabled children. This wasn't desperation, it was cruelty monetized. Other teachers from the forum flipped, testifying against her in exchange for lesser sentences. They painted a picture of a woman who actively recruited educators to sell records, who laughed about stupid kids and stupider parents, who saw vulnerable children as walking dollar signs. The parent testimony was devastating. One by one, we took the stand and explained what those sold documents meant. Private psychological evaluations, medical histories, detailed descriptions of our children's triggers and breakdowns, all packaged and sold to strangers. I testified on a Tuesday. Trevor practices reading every night until he cries from frustration. He's not lazy, he's the hardest working kid I know. But Miss Caldwell reduced him to a commodity. She sold his pain for less than the cost of her designer handbag. The jury deliberated for 2 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, Miss Caldwell addressed the court. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. Teaching is stressful and I made terrible choices. I hope families can forgive me. Judge Harrison wasn't moved. Miss Caldwell, you held a position of unique trust. Parents entrusted you with their children's vulnerabilities and you sold them. You mocked children's disabilities while pretending to help them. You corrupted the sacred relationship between teacher and student for profit. She sentenced Caldwell to 5 years in federal prison, lifetime ban from teaching, and $100,000 in restitution to be split among victims. Caldwell sobbed as they led her away in handcuffs. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no closure. Just empty. The aftermath rippled through our lives. Trevor struggled with trust. If his teacher could betray him, who else might? He asked to be homeschooled, terrified of new teachers. We compromised with a hybrid program, slowly rebuilding his confidence. Other kids weren't as lucky. Marcus Chen's daughter regressed, her autism symptoms worsening under the stress. James Foster's son attempted suicide after classmates found the forum posts calling him retarded. 2 families moved away entirely, unable to face the school where their children's privacy had been violated. The school implemented sweeping changes. Background checks now included social media deep dives. Teachers underwent mandatory FERPA training quarterly instead of yearly. A new oversight system flagged any unusual access to student records. But systems don't fix broken trust. A year later, Trevor has a new teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, who cried when she read his IEP and promised to help him soar. He's making progress, slowly learning to trust again. He still asks sometimes why Miss Caldwell was mean about his brain. Some people are broken in ways that don't show, I tell him. Miss Caldwell's heart was broken, and she tried to break other people too. But you're not broken, baby. You're perfect. The FBI investigation expanded nationwide. Parent Tax for Education led to 47 arrests across 12 states. Teachers, counselors, even principals who'd sold children's souls for profit. Each arrest brought fresh horror, suicide attempt records sold, abuse documentation marketed, therapy notes turned into commodities. Agent Chen keeps me updated. They've shut down 3 similar sites, but others pop up. It's an ongoing battle, she admits. People see vulnerability as profit opportunity. Miss Caldwell serves her time in federal prison. I heard she teaches literacy to other inmates, ironic, considering she mocked children struggling to read. Maybe she's genuinely reformed. Maybe prison taught her empathy that teaching school couldn't. I don't care. She stole more than documents. She stole innocence, trust, and security. She made vulnerable children question their worth and parents question their judgment. But here's what Ms. Caldwell didn't count on: the strength of the families she betrayed. We rallied around our kids, reinforced their worth, rebuilt their confidence. We turned violation into vigilance, ensuring no teacher would ever again see our children as commodities. Trevor reads better now. Still slowly, still with difficulty, but with determination Ms. Caldwell never recognized. Last week, he finished his first chapter book independently. He cried with joy, and so did I. Mom, he said, I think my different brain might be my superpower. I have to work harder so I get stronger. That's worth more than any IEP, any accommodation, any document. That's a child recognizing his own worth despite an adult who tried to diminish it. Miss Caldwell sold Trevor's IEP for $200. But she couldn't sell his spirit, his determination, or his brilliant, beautifully different brain. And that's priceless. The fitting room door swung open, and there stood my sister Natalie in a stunning white Valentino dress, twirling like she was at her own wedding. "This is the one," she squealed. "I'll look absolutely perfect at your funeral." I sat in my wheelchair, oxygen tube in my nose, skeleton thin from 6 months of aggressive chemotherapy, watching my younger sister model funeral outfits for an event where I'd be the guest of honor. "Dead. The white really makes her skin glow," my mother said, adjusting the hem. "Though black is traditional, white shows hope and new beginnings." "New beginnings," I repeated flatly. "At my funeral." "Well, yes," Mom said, not even looking at me. "Natalie will need to move forward after you're gone. She's thinking of doing a speech about sisterhood. We're working on it together." I'd been given 3 to 6 months to live. That was 4 months ago. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer spread to my liver and lungs. The doctors called me a fighter. My family, apparently, called me a deadline. "Don't look so glum, Theresa," Natalie said, admiring herself in the 3-way mirror. "This is really hard for me too. I mean, I'll be the only daughter after you're gone. That's a lot of pressure. I'm literally still alive." "Barely," she muttered, then louder. "We're just being practical. The funeral home said we need to plan ahead. They gave us a discount for early booking." "You booked my funeral?" "The good venues fill up fast," Mom explained. "Rosewood Chapel, the one with the stained glass. They had a cancellation for next month. We put down a deposit." Next month, they'd scheduled my death like a dentist appointment. "I need some air," I wheezed, rolling toward the door. "Oh, before you go," Natalie called out, "what do you think about an open casket? I know you've lost weight, but the mortician said they can plump things up. I want people to see how peaceful you look so they'll focus on comforting me." I rolled out of that boutique and into the mall, my mind reeling. 3 shoppers stared at me, the obviously dying woman in a wheelchair, with that mixture of pity and relief that it wasn't them. But they hadn't heard what I'd heard. They hadn't watched their sister try on designer dresses for their funeral while they still had a pulse. My phone buzzed. A text from my husband Eric. "How was shopping with your family?" Natalie picked out her funeral outfit for my funeral. Mom's helping her write her eulogy. "Please tell me you're joking." I sent him a photo I'd snapped of Natalie in the white dress, captioned with her actual quote about looking perfect at my funeral. Eric called immediately. "I'm coming to get you." "No way, I want to hear more about my funeral. Apparently, it's going to be quite the event." I rolled back to find them at the register. Natalie was charging the $3,000 dress to a credit card. "That's my Amex," I said, recognizing the card. "Oh, you weren't using it," Mom said dismissively. "And Natalie needs something appropriate. It's going to be a difficult day for her." Yorari sapiendi ing my moni on Andreas for my few many RAL that I am not even dead FOR yet. The entire store turned to stare. Natalie rolled her eyes. "God, Theresa, you're making a scene. This is why we didn't want to bring you, but you insisted on family time." "I insisted on lunch, not funeral fashion shows." "Well, we're multitasking," Mom snapped. "You should be grateful we're handling these details so you don't have to worry. I should be grateful you're planning my funeral like it's Natalie's sweet 16. "The world doesn't stop because you're dying," Natalie said coldly. "Some of us have to keep living. I'm going to be the one dealing with everyone's sympathy, fielding the calls, managing the estate." "What estate?" I laughed bitterly. "The medical bills have taken everything." "The life insurance," she said quickly, too quickly. I stared at her. "How do you know about my life insurance?" Mom shifted uncomfortably. "We just want to make sure everything's in order." "You've been going through my papers?" "You were in the hospital," Mom said defensively. "Someone had to handle things." The truth hit me like ice water. They weren't just planning my funeral. They were planning their payday. "How much?" I asked quietly. "What?" "How much is my life insurance policy?" "Since you've clearly already checked." Natalie lifted her chin. $500,000. "And before you get all high and mighty, we deserve it. We've been dealing with your illness for months." "Dealing with?" "I am the one dying. And we're the ones watching," Mom said. "Do you know how hard it is for Natalie to see her sister like this? She's been so strong. She deserves something for her pain." Her pain, her pain. I was shaking now, rage giving me strength I hadn't felt in weeks. She's buying funeral outfits with my credit card and counting my life insurance money, but she's the one in pain. You're being selfish, Natalie said. As usual, even dying, you have to make it all about you. That's when I decided. They had no idea what I would do next. Eric picked me up, and I spent the ride home in silence, planning. That evening, I made some calls. First, my lawyer, Patricia Simons. I need to change my will and life insurance beneficiaries immediately. Of course, who would you like to designate? Street Jude's Children's Hospital. Everything. Nothing for your family? They already got their funeral dress. Next, I called the funeral home. I understand my mother and sister made arrangements for my funeral. Yes, Ms. Morrison. A beautiful service planned. Your sister was very specific about the flower arrangements and music selections. Cancel it. I'm sorry. Cancel everything. I'm not dead. I don't consent to any arrangements, and if they try to book again, please note that only my husband, Eric Thompson, has authority to make arrangements on my behalf. But they paid a deposit. Then they can get it back, or not. I don't care, but there will be no funeral booked while I'm still breathing. Finally, I called my doctor. Dr. Patel, I need you to be honest. My latest scans, am I really dying as fast as you initially thought? He paused. Actually, I was planning to call you. Your tumors have been responding to the experimental treatment better than expected. I wouldn't call it remission, but you're not dying next month. Maybe not even next year. We need more tests. But there's reason for cautious optimism. I hadn't told my family about the experimental treatment. Why bother? They'd already buried me. The next morning, I posted on Facebook. Since my family has taken it upon themselves to plan my funeral while I'm still alive, including my sister buying a designer dress for the occasion on my credit card, I thought I should clarify. I'm not dead. Reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Also, fun fact, planning someone's funeral while they're alive and can hear you discussing how peaceful they'll look in a casket? That's called psychological torture. P.S. Natalie, the white Valentino looked tacky, even for a funeral. The post went viral within hours. My phone exploded. Natalie called 17 times before I answered. You ABSO lead WTH, she screamed. How dare you humiliate me like this? How dare you try on funeral outfits like I'm already a corpse? It was practical planning. It was vulture behavior. Mom called next. Take that post down immediately. You're destroying Natalie's reputation. She destroyed it herself when she used my credit card to buy a dress for my funeral. She was grieving. I'm not dead yet. You will be soon, Mom snapped, then caught herself. I mean, you know what I mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. The family group chat exploded. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone had opinions. Most were horrified at Natalie and Mom. Some tried to play peacekeeper, but the damage was done. Then Natalie made a fatal error. She posted her own response. My sister is clearly suffering from end-stage paranoia. The medications have affected her mind. We were simply trying to spare her the burden of planning. The fact that she's attacking the people who love her most shows how far her mental state has deteriorated. Pray for her. She included a photo of her in the white dress with the caption, "The dress I bought to honor my sister's memory." She called it tacky, but grief makes people cruel. The comments did not go the way she expected. Girl, you bought a funeral dress while your sister is alive. This is giving can't wait for the inheritance energy. The caucasity of wearing white to a funeral. Ma'am, your sister has cancer, not dementia. Stop gaslighting. But my favorite, I hope she outlives you just for spite. 3 weeks later, I was still alive. The experimental treatment was working better than anyone expected. My tumors had shrunk by 30%. Dr. Patel called it remarkable. Natalie had to return the dress. The store wouldn't take it back after the viral incident, so she was stuck with a $3,000 reminder of her foolishness. Mom stopped talking to me entirely after I removed them both from my will. But the best revenge came naturally. 6 months later, I was in partial remission. Not cured, but stable. Living. I gained weight back, started walking again, even returned to work part-time. Natalie, meanwhile, had become internet infamous as the funeral dress sister. She lost her job when her employer saw the posts. Her boyfriend dumped her after reading the comments about inheritance. She had to move back in with our parents because she couldn't afford rent. She texted me, "I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life." "No," I replied, "you ruined your own life when you went shopping for my funeral. I just refused to die on schedule." A year later, I'm still here. Still fighting, still breathing, still very much alive. The white Valentino dress hangs in Natalie's closet, tags still on, a $3,000 monument to her premature celebration of my death. Mom occasionally sends passive-aggressive texts about how families should forgive each other. I respond with a screenshot of Natalie's credit card charge for funeral attire. They tried to bury me before I was dead. Instead, I buried their reputations 6 feet under while still breathing. The doctors say I might have years left, maybe decades. Medical miracles happen. And every single day I survive is a middle finger to the sister who couldn't wait for me to die. She wanted to look perfect at my funeral. Instead, she looks perfectly horrible to everyone who knows what she did. And me? I look alive. Beautifully, spitefully, miraculously alive. They had no idea what I would do next. I survived. That's the best revenge of all.